Okay, in closed session, we had gave some guidance for STA negotiations around the admin support. Um, recognition.
Today's gonna be a hard one. I mean, over the years,
Let's not do it.
okay.
Yeah. We don't accept.
Over the years, we get a lot of plaques. For me, this is gonna be the hardest one because she's my partner in crime the last 14 years. I've known Teresa for 31. She was an established teacher leader here when I first came here as, the 23-year-old punk, whatever. Even then, I felt like she kind of took care of me. She went and took on leadership roles outside, came back. And so in total, 41 years of education. And if you've ever been to a room, there's one picture that says it all. It says, I think once upon a time there was a girl who wanted to be a teacher. End of story. It's me. And Teresa's a lifelong educator that's touched kids for 41 years. And in her weekly updates, there's this little phrase that, students are at the center of all we do. And she's been true to that for at least 31 that I know about. I said the other 10 too. She and I came into our current roles together 14 years ago. And I would say we had quite a ride, a lot of highs, few lows, but I always knew that when that site was taken care of, no matter where I had to go, Spreckels was on lockdown because Teresa treated it as an extension of her family, always. And speaking of her family, I think of all the things I respect about her most is her role as matriarch of her family. She married her high school sweetheart. Well, yeah. Yeah. And I don't know how he feels about her retirement. We're sad, but, we always take back grandparents to volunteer if you guys, if you're doing this, to send her back for a while. But we can't thank you enough, Teresa. Over the years, you've done every kid's name. You knew their family situation. Always put them first, and can't thank you enough. So, Dr. Chris, if you wouldn't mind.
Okay. But before I do this, I've got some words too. So when I first moved into this district, and I called up Eric and said, do you need a volunteer for anything? And he says, yeah, well, we actually have a spot on the board. I started doing that, and we had 3 little boys that lived next to us, the SGEIZA. Yeah. So there were these 3 little boys that lived next door, and I went to them and I said, well, what do you think about school? They go, oh, we like it. What do you think about your principal, Mrs. And I didn't really know how to pronounce your name at that point, but the kid did. Corrected me. Sherpinski. We practiced it together, me and a 6-year-old. Well, what do you think about your principal? Well, she's very loud, but she's fun, and she loves us. I said, do you ever want to get on her bad side? Oh, no. No, I don't want to get on her bad side. And do you think she's a good principal? Yes, I think she's a good principal. So in my totally unscientific survey of 6-year-olds, you were the best principal in the world. And I thought that was quite a statement, that this kid who was in the 1st grade knew who the principal was and had a good sense of not only were you loud, but that you were, that you really cared about him and his brothers. And so, I've been sold on you ever since. So it's been great having you here for the time that I've been on the board. I really appreciated our friendship, and I've appreciated everything that you've done for the district, from the very first time we visited classrooms together to this spring when you had the multicultural fair out there. And the students, one of the best things that I can say about our principal is that the students were always well behaved, but they were into everything that we've done. I came over there and we sang with my ukulele group, and they were into that. They're into the multicultural fair. They were well behaved, but they were also enthusiastic and having a good time. And when that's happening, the principal's doing a good job. Okay, so here the parents, students, employees, and board of trustees of the Spreckels Union School District community commend and honor Teresa Sherpinski for 31 years of distinguished service as teacher principal. This plaque is presented in appreciation of Mrs. Sherpinski's hard work, skill, and dedication to her service. With this acknowledgement, the Spreckels Union School District honors the years of outstanding service rendered to the Spreckels Union School District. Presented by a grateful Spreckels Union School District, June 2024. And I got another little something. This is a bottle of a nice bubbly from Odonata, and it says it fares well with a great retirement. Thank you, Tammy.
The teachers gave it to me, so I thought I should wear it.
Yeah, come on. Hide it quick. You have to squeeze in like you like each other.
Yeah, you guys might have to get closer together for
showered.
2 rows, please. Okay, 1, 2. Excellent. Okay, one of those.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Teresa, would you like a word?
Oh. I'll use the mic just because I don't know but
Yeah.
I think I already said what I wanted to say when I read my letter and said thank you to all of you, but it always deserves another thank you. It goes both ways. The thing that I admire the most about the district is how big we are and how small we are. We're big enough to try new ventures and look at new possibilities and think outside the box, but we're small enough to work together and help each other out. And it starts with the school board, which we're always able to talk with you and get your opinion. And seems to me you've always been able to talk to me too, and I appreciate that. So keep the communication going and the open door policy, because it makes a difference for all of us. And I just appreciate all the time I've been here. It's been a long run. It's been a good run, and I will be volunteering after I take a break.
Yeah.
So thank you.
And on cue, that's life after retirement
Oh,
right there.
hi. I didn't see you come in. You just asked me
Great.
to talk, and I wasn't planning on it. And so, and as Eric said, that's most of you guys know me. It's one of my main reasons I'm excited about retirement, hoping to help Jen drive the kids around a little bit and continue to go to all their events. It's a lot of fun, and I love spending time with them. So thanks for being here, guys.
Yay. Well, Teresa, I'll never think of you. I'll never think of you without thinking Spreckels strong. Yeah. Thank you. Okay, do I have somebody wanting to address the board slips? Bargaining unit presentations, STA? CSCA? Board member comments, Steve? No. Peter?
Congrats, and I'm glad my kids got to see go through it. Good luck on retirement life, and enjoy being a grandma.
Frank? Stephanie? I got the opportunity to spend 3 long days with the technology committee led by Bree, and it was great fun. It was good to put on my teacher hat again. It was a lot of work, but I think we accomplished something pretty cool. So we're going to come back. The technology committee is going to follow the plan that Bree's laid out for coming back with a technology set of guidelines, and I'm looking forward to it. So thanks. Oral, written, and communication, seeing none. Superintendent report.
Nothing today. Well, 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, and
But I
she
said that
wa-
it still stands.
And she just walked out the door.
Yeah. Mhm.
So, anybody from Foundation, PTO, or Bobcat Club? No. Okay, facilities program update?
With updates, though, we do want to ask you, Bernard and I were talking about perhaps adding technology as its own, like number 4, because it seems like we bring it up a lot, and to give it its proper place in the agenda.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll add that.
Makes sense. Anything about food?
No, nothing this time.
Transportation? Okay. Monterey County Treasurer? Yeah.
So how are we doing with creating full-time positions for bus drivers? Do you think the news will continue?
I think we posted, right?
Unless I missed something last meeting.
Yeah.
We're gonna post, for 2 full-time, maintenance custodians. It's already an existing position.
Bus driver slash maintenance.
And then
So you don't have to negotiate it.
one of them was frosted, so just, yeah, increase it, so yeah, and then,
Okay. Treasurer quarterly investment report?
Yeah, so just make it real kind of quick, the highlights of it. So overall yield for the last quarter was 3.83, which was up from the previous quarter. That's good to see. So investments are money in the bank. They continue to kind of stay very liquid in their investments. A lot of overnights, as they call them. 20% of the investments and another 38% are in the 1 year, 1 day to 1 year. That's just to be ready to mobilize if somebody needs to withdraw. So it's staying very liquid. That yield curve that we talked about in the past is still inverted, so the short-term investments gives us a higher yield. Don't know when that's going to flip, but it's staying pretty strong, so it's been almost a year now that it's been at that. Just to give you an idea, 3-month bonds or treasuries are 5.36% yield. 1 year it drops to 5.02, and then at 3 years it's down to 4.41. So normally, so it's inverted.
Yeah.
But normally it'll flip. That's something to flip. And then the only other real interesting thing that is a real concern to us going forward, especially budget-wise, is the consumer price index continues to kind of come in higher than projections, which is never good. In February is at 3.2. Some of the projections and the assumptions we use going forward are in the high 2s. So probably what I will do, we'll do a 45-day revise anyways because of some of the different personnel things that are happening. And I'll probably account for a slightly higher than what Dartwood says on the price index, just so we're prepared.
And of course, Cola's keeping right up with that, right?
Don't wish.
Yeah.
In a perfect world, it would, but it's not. But that's really the gist of the quarterly report.
Okay. Thanks. Any questions? Can I get a motion to approve the 2024-25 local control accountability plan? I've never said that all the way out before. LCAP adoption. Thank you. Second?
These are the same documents you saw 2 weeks ago for the public hearing. The exception is our LCAP here just has a few of the county's edits, just to make sure the language matches what they're looking for in compliance.
Yeah. So what you sent us this time, Bernard, didn't change from the last set of things. Okay, good. That's what I thought. Are we ready to vote? All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0-0. Can I get a motion to approve the 2024-25 Spreckels Union School District budget? Second? Okay.
Yep. And so everything was as is. Again, you know, your budget is just a projection at the time that you make it based on the information present. We will have a 45-day revise because of things that are happening. We've still got a few resources that are being asked for that will trickle in after, of course. So we'll be
Yeah.
Looking forward to it.
Nadine says you're busy because you're doing both the end of this year and the beginning of next year. So it's kind of like, yeah.
That's good. Busy's good.
Okay. Any questions? All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 500. Can I get a motion to approve the consolidated application? Second.
So consolidated application, that's how we apply for our title money. 1, 2, 3s, and 4s, we don't apply for the 3s. Although we did talk about it, Laura and I had a conversation about why aren't we not asking for some Title III money for
Hmm.
English learners? Kind of get into a situation where you have to hit a certain threshold before you can, if you don't hit $10,000, then you have to partner with somebody else, a surrounding district. So we're going to look into that going forward.
Mhm.
That's leaving money on the table.
Sure.
So we'll see how we do there. Other than that, pretty much standard pat.
Any questions? All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 500. Can I get a motion to approve resolution 2324/17 cafeteria fund transfer? Second. Bernard?
Yeah, so, I did have some questions about, some of the increased costs there. So just to kind of make sure you guys are all aware why we increased a little bit this year. Some of it was health fees came in double what they were in the past. I don't really know exactly why that is, but that's what it is. So there was some increases there. We had, for instance, this year some tire repair that had not been foreseen. So I put some money in just in case we need some maintenance next year, so we don't have to come back and ask for
Right.
yet another resolution. And then just some increased amount in the services, because we talked about doing some improved services in cafeteria. So just putting some money there to kind of seed that as we go forward.
Okay. Thanks. Any questions? All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 500. All right. Let's talk about the bond.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Frank? I'm an aye. Steve? Peter? Stephanie? Thank you. Motion passes 500 again. Now,
Now the bond. So for the last month and a half or 2 months, the company that's doing the professional community survey has been doing their work, and we really were sitting back, crossing our fingers, and quite honestly, reading articles that it may not go the direction we want. Last Thursday, Friday, we got on a team call for the first time, and we got nothing but a lot of promising results. And today, Jesse from CFS, which is our consultant, is here to kind of go through the summarized version of that and basically kind of saying what could be next.
Thank you, and good afternoon, members of the board. My name is Jesse Landry. I'm with California Financial Services. We serve as the district's financial advisor. There we go. All right. So we won't bury the lead here. I think Eric mentioned already, there's viability in a November 2024 bond measure for the district. We are consistently in the high 60 percentiles as we ask the different question, while only 55% is needed for a Prop 39 election. We wanted to come before the board. We'll share these results. We'll get into some of the details. As you know, your community is unique, and that came through in the survey versus some of the surveys that we see across the state. There were certain elements that we'll talk about as we walk through that make your community unique, but also highly supportive of education, highly supportive of the school district, and highly supportive of the facilities needs that the district has and needs to get completed. And just to preface this, the district just isn't going out for a bond for the fun of it. It's because there was facilities needs that need to be completed, and the state doesn't provide any types of funding sources to be able to apply towards those facilities needs. So that's the purpose of why the district has endeavored to go out and test the community on their thoughts around different facilities projects and see where they align with what the facilities needs are of the district. So just one piece to mention here at the end, the unanimous vote of the board at the time on August 1st is when the planned potential ballot resolution could come before you. That's definitely preferred. You need a 4/5, you need a supermajority, but you know, politically, the most bulletproof is to have the entire board have a unanimous vote for that. So a little bit into their survey, and just to talk about who the players in this group are. So the survey consultant is FM3, and they conducted this survey. They do surveys all across the state. We're working in conjunction with our team, financial advisor, CFS, along with a team called Lou Edwards Group, and they serve as kind of a community outreach consultant. They're going to play a large part in this going forward. So they ran the survey in late May and through early June. They talked to 241 likely voters, so that they get a voter file from prior years and see who votes, and they're looking at not just who is likely to vote at all, but who's likely to vote in November 2024. So they specify their survey to those folks. Because the 241 is a little bit smaller sample size, you can see the confidence level is still high at 95%, but there is that margin of error that you see there between 6 and 9% on some of these questions. So when we get an answer and we say it's 60%, remember there's that margin of error that could move one way or the other. They reached out to folks via telephone, email, and text to try to get them to take the survey, and then the survey was conducted over telephone and online, both in English and Spanish. All right, so one of the first things they test is how does your community, how do the likely voters feel about different groups? And part of the rationale of why they do this is because we're going to want to identify, if we do decide to move forward, we're going to want to identify groups of people who are going to resonate with the community and have them as supporters. So this is and this is very common. We always see firefighters at the top of the list, so that's very common. But one of these things that makes your community unique is they kind of like everyone. Everyone's pretty high up there on the list. So you can see we'll highlight the Spreckels Union School District. It's 68% favorable. So those little breakups are, you see the intensity is very favorable as the dark blue, the light blue is somewhat favorable, somewhat unfavorable is the yellow marks, and the never heard of is the purple. But very strong favorable categories. And what that gives us are a lot of opportunities to talk with constituents, stakeholders of these key groups and try to see if, educate them about the district's facilities needs. We can't advocate for a bond, but what we can do is educate and provide informational materials to these folks. So a big part of establishing whether folks will support a bond is whether they think there's need for school facilities. So we definitely had that. We had 63% saying you have great to some need. And then that's the piece, is we can pull people over to identifying that there's a need there, then they're more likely to support a potential bond measure. So this is about...
All of these folks are in the district, all the people that were
Yeah, and all likely voters as well. So the first thing that they do is they ask this sample ballot question. So this is our first start of what could appear on a November 2024 ballot. And this is when you get your ballot sheet when you vote. This is what's on page 1 of it. They say yes or no on this, and then you vote. There's a lot of materials provided in that backup voter information guide, but this is the item that a lot of folks only see this and would vote. So you can see some of the language in there. There's certain key phrases that the community outreach group tends to want to include in there that tend to receive a lot of support from the community. So we tested first. We split the samples into two sides. We tested $30 per 100,000 as a tax rate, and we tested a tax rate of 3 cents per $100 of assessed valuation. And so that's looking at the rate that it's going to be charged based on the assessed value of your home or your property. That's how the county would calculate the tax. So right out of the gate, 63%. Yeah, we went back. Okay. So this is that split sample we talked about. So when we tested $30 per 100,000 of AV, you got 58% yes, but we look at the intensity of that vote. So you can see that definitely yes is in a 32%, probably yes 21%. So you only really have 53% that's a little more certain. That undecided lead yes are people who say undecided, but then the survey consultant pushes them to make it, hey, if you had to pick today, what would you lean towards? And so those people are leaning towards it. That puts us over the 55%, but you can see it's much safer on the 3 cents per $100. That puts us at 68% on a total yes. 63% of that stronger, higher intensity yes. Now, these are some of the pieces that are unique. Typically, you're getting more votes, more yes votes from the younger folks. In here, we're seeing the most support from the age group 65 plus. Is at 70% total yes, but still strong support across the various age groups. Another unique one, usually it's female voters who tend to support these measures more frequently, and for this survey, we had 65% support amongst men. Really no difference between Caucasians and voters of other color. Strong support, 66 and 68% across the board for those. This one's very unique. This one, I still don't understand it. Not that we didn't see strong support amongst parents of the district, but parents who have students who attend the schools here, they supported it 66%. That's 2/3. I mean, that's great. But folks who don't have children had an 88% support. I have never seen that before. So then what we get into is we start to ask a lot of questions about specific project types and specific language. That's what I talked about before, finding where's that overlap between the district's existing needs and the types of projects that the community would like to see. That's going to help us determine how our outreach looks, like what projects are we going to focus on when we outreach to the community? What projects are we going to include on a potential bond list? We want to do things that the community supports, obviously. There's a lot of support across the board for many of the projects that the district needs. You can see that these are the highest testing project types. Some of these are just pieces of language that are not really a project type, but requiring public spending disclosure. That's just a requirement of Prop 39 bonds, but we test these things to see how will this factor into our outreach methods. Very strong support, though. We'll talk a little summary later on in the presentation. A lot of support for repair type projects is what we're seeing. You can see running down here, we're still talking about 2/3 approval and higher for all of these project types. Kind of across the board, yeah, we can go to the next. Now we can see we start to drop below the 2/3 mark with some of these items. Some of the safety items didn't test as well as they might test in other communities, but still strongly supportive. This item right here, we asked survey respondents, where do you get your information from? And a surprising number said mailers sent to your home was a source of news or a source of information for them. At 70% is how they take in information. And local community newspapers was very high. So what that tells us is with those community outreach, we're going to be effective in being able to provide information out to voters via mailers, which is a standard method that folks use for the community outreach. All right, so we tested this $27 million at the $30 tax rate. There was support. We tested a lower tax rate as well and tested that. There was support there as well. We think there's support under both types, whether we go for the higher $27 million and $30 or 3 cents. What we do see, though, is that we really need to utilize the cents methodology. So the 3 cents per $100 of assessed valuation is the method that resonates the best with the community to have support. So this kind of summarized some of the themes for the voters. They love fiscal accountability, public disclosure. Those are requirements of a Prop 39 bond. Those basic repairs, retaining and attracting quality teachers, safe drinking water, well-rounded education. That was another piece too. We didn't talk about that specifically, but the arts and music isn't typically one in a lot of communities that shows very strong support. It definitely did here in your community. And that just, again, helps us determine how we're going to focus the messaging out to the community. So as far as next steps, what we're talking about now would be over these next couple of months prior to August 1st, the district would be working through different outreach methods. So they'd be trying to, we'd likely be getting something out to teachers and staff. I know school's over already, but we'd find some methodology. We'd utilize the district's existing ways that they communicate with their staff. We'd utilize some of those opportunities. Sometimes people will open up and provide information on the district's website about, again, just talking about facilities needs and about types of projects and things some of the positives that could come from this potential bond measure. that would run over the next couple of months. And in addition to that, identifying some of those key stakeholders and making contact with those folks. There's going to be folks in your community that are influential groups. We want to find people, when we talked about those groups of local firefighters, things like that, we want to identify those people. What's unique this year in this ballot versus prior ballots is that now we have to include supporters and opponents directly on the ballot language. That information used to be back in the back of the voter guide. Now it's going to appear right where people vote. So it's important for us to try to make sure we're aware and in front of any potential opposition that we have. So we want to identify have that conversation, talk about the needs. Again, if we can communicate the needs to people and make them understand that, then they're more likely to be supportive. So these are a couple examples in the past of types of those community updates, community outreach information that has been sent out. That's part of the reason, not only to provide the results to the board to give an update, but then to let you know that if we're going through these next steps, the community will be receiving additional information, additional mailers. There's going to be information out there. You may be asked questions about those things. And again, this information that goes out, it can be informational only. It can't be advocacy. We, as a district, we can't be doing anything to advocate for the bond. We can only provide information about the facility's needs, what it can do. And you typically have to weight the positives of it with the negatives, which the negatives are, there's a tax associated with it. So you'll usually see in there, they'll have both sides of the argument kind of included in these informational items.
Thank you. Questions?
Any questions?
Anything? You're the J. Landre at calschools.com?
Yeah, Jesse Landry.
I was just saying, your name's not on the slide. Go ahead.
So I just had a question. So regarding the survey questions, those are kind of the generic ones you typically test that are kind of umbrella terms, like, and then where the people's responses fall into their level of support.
Yeah, some of those are, and some of it is based on conversations with the district on what those facilities. So we'll include specific facilities projects if we know, hey, that I'm going to say a hypothetical. This doesn't apply to the district, but if you said, hey, we're looking at doing, performing arts center or a central kitchen or something along those lines, we're going to test those specific items that you're talking about as projects. But then in addition, when we hear some of the things like, oh, we need to replace this portable, that spurs a few line items that are kind of tried and true methods that the survey consultant knows when they hear that, oh, okay, I'm going to put in these types of questions because those things fit within replacing a portable.
So the language we eventually may land on would be very specific and tailored to the needs that are identified by our facilities.
Yeah, I think we're going to find that cross overlap. The things that have tested well within the survey and what projects do you actually need. Now, when we prepare a project list, we may be a little more general. So what it'll actually appear is the legal project list. We need to have some flexibility because the needs of today may not be the needs in 5 years from now, right? So we need to have some flexibility for
So
the
it doesn't
district.
restrict us too much as
Exactly,
well, too.
exactly.
What time period is the bond constructed over?
So if
tax.
approved now this can change, this can fluctuate. So if approved if the voters approved in November, you'd first be looking to go out with an initial series. If the district had the facilities needs at that time, you'd be looking in early 2025 for that first issuance. You have choices for how long the duration of those bonds. The most standard is 30-year bonds is typically the standard for bond issuances. They could be shorter though. Things that could make the program go faster are increases in assessed valuation. So we usually try to stay conservative on assessed valuation, conservative on interest rates. The future AV growth of the district and the interest rate environment, those are the things that are going to dictate whether the amount of money can be accessed quicker or slower. And it can go both ways. If AV goes down dramatically, then it will delay the district's ability to access funding for projects.
Thanks. Any other questions? We just got to find a spokesperson for that 88% that don't have kids. We can find that. We can put that in the group. Okay. No questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, consent items. I just want to pull one out for 8.6 where it says language people executed. I think there's got to be a different way to say that. That's what this is. Motion to approve the consent items. Second. All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0-0. All right. Anything to add to the future agenda items?
The bond language and what will be the next step on August 1st.
So on August 1st, the district would, then they would receive the ballot. So there could be updates provided. Staff can provide updates to the board, periodically. It's kind of up to your discretion of how you'd like to receive information. But on August 1st, you would receive the ballot, a resolution to approve. Once that's approved, that's taken to the county register of voters. It's put on and then we start the process. It needs to be provided there within roughly the second week of August.
Okay. And do we have to take action on August 1st? I'm just trying to do timelines in my head. Could we do it at the September meeting, or is
No.
that too late?
It's too late.
Okay,
yeah.
got it.
August 9th is the general county deadline for when they need to receive it. So you have to go before then. We try to go as late as possible. Because the allowances on what you can and can't do change as soon as that ballot, and once we get approval today, district staff will start to talk with the attorneys, start to talk about what that community outreach, what's allowable, what's not allowable. That changes too once that resolution's approved. Then at that point, the districts put this ballot measure or put it on the November ballot. Then there's certain restrictions on what type of communication you can have at that point.
Great.
And what role the board can play, what role the district staff can play in that process.
Okay. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Motion to adjourn? Somebody move it. Thank you. All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0-0. Thank you very much. Monica, you're sure.